Plato argues that true reality, genuine being, must be eternal, unchanging, and perfect. Everything we perceive in the physical world, trees, mountains, people, emotions, is constantly being born, changing, and dying. Because it is impermanent, it cannot be true reality in the highest sense. It is merely an imperfect reflection of it. Imagine, for a moment, a specific kind of stillness. It's not the quiet of an empty room, but the quiet that settles in you after the chaos of the day finally dims. Maybe you're lying in bed, the glow of your phone the only light, scrolling through an endless stream of faces, places, tragedies, and triumphs that have nothing to do with the walls of your own home. Or perhaps you're walking down a familiar street, and you see the same tree you've passed 1,000 times, but for a split second, it looks different. Almost like a detail in a painting you've only just noticed. A fleeting, vertiginous feeling that the world is not just solid and given, but rendered. That beneath the texture of the bark and the rustle of the leaves, there might be a hum, a faint, algorithmic buzz. It is in these quiet, unguarded moments that the most profound questions whisper to us. Not questions about what we should have for dinner, or what our careers demand of us, but questions about the very fabric of our being. Is this all there is? And more unervingly, is this all real? Today, I want to sit with you in that stillness and explore an idea that has traveled from the fringes of philosophy to the heart of modern technology. The simulation argument. The notion that what we experience as life, the universe, and everything might not be a base reality, but an extraordinarily sophisticated digital construct. But I don't want to just list arguments and counterpoints. I want to feel our way into this idea, to see if it resonates not just with our intellect, but with something deeper within our lived experience. Because what if this isn't a cold, dystopian sci-fi plot, but a lens through which we can see our own humanity more clearly? Let's start not with code, but with a feeling. Déjà vu. That eerie, skin-prickling sensation that you have lived this exact moment before. Science explains it as a neurological hiccup, a temporary misfiring where your brain places a present experience directly into the memory bank, creating an illusion of recollection. But in the feeling itself, in that split second, there is no explanation. There is only a profound disorientation. It feels like a glitch. A brief glimpse behind the curtain where the machinery stutters. Or consider dreams. In a dream, you accept impossible physics, shifting landscapes, and characters who morph without question. Your critical mind is offline. Only upon waking do you gasp at the absurdity. What if our waking life is simply a dream with stricter, more consistent rules? A stable, persistent simulation where the laws of physics are the ultimate user agreement we all unconsciously abide by. Think about the very nature of our reality. Physicists describe the universe not as a collection of tiny, solid billiard balls, but as fields of energy, vibrations. At its most fundamental level, matter dissolves into probability clouds and information. The universe computes itself into existence. This isn't mystical thinking, it's quantum mechanics. The famous double-slit experiment suggests particles behave differently when observed, as if the act of measurement, of requesting data, forces the system to render a definite outcome. Doesn't that sound strangely like an optimization technique? Don't render the full detail until a user looks at it. It's a principle in video game design. To save processing power, you only generate the graphics for what the player can actually see. We call it a view frustum. Could the universe have a cosmic version of this? Then, consider the mathematical perfection underpinning everything. Gravity follows an inverse square law. The ratios in a Nautilus shell echo the Fibonacci sequence. The constants of nature, the speed of light, the gravitational constant, seem fine-tuned with absurd precision. If any one of them were off by a fraction, stars wouldn't form, chemistry would be impossible, and we wouldn't be here to wonder about it. One explanation is the anthropic principle. We see a universe suitable for life because we are here to see it. But another is the programmer's hand. When you design a simulated world, you set the parameters. You input the rules. The elegance, the clean mathematical lines, could be the signature of a built environment, not a chaotic, accidental one. Now, let's look at our own creations. We are, right now, building the seeds of this very possibility. Video games have evolved from pixelated paddles and balls to vast, open worlds with their own ecology, weather systems, and non-player characters with rudimentary AI. Virtual reality is clumsily convincing our brains to accept a digital space as a place to inhabit. We talk of the metaverse. And artificial intelligence. It's no longer just about beating us at chess. It's about generating art, writing poetry, holding conversations that feel disconcertingly real. We are creating sentient-seeming entities in digital realms. If our technological trajectory continues for another century, a millennium, is it not plausible, perhaps even inevitable, that we will create simulations indistinguishable from reality for the beings within them? And if we can do it, then a more advanced civilization already has. This is the core of philosopher Nick Bostrom's famous trilemma. He essentially presents three possibilities, and at least one must be true. 1. Virtually all civilizations at our level go extinct before becoming technologically mature enough to create realistic simulations. A grim thought. 2. Technologically mature civilizations have zero interest in creating simulations of their ancestral past, which seems unlikely, given our own obsession with history, archaeology, and storytelling. Or 3. We are almost certainly living in a simulation. Because if even a tiny fraction of advanced civilizations run just a few simulations, the number of simulated beings would astronomically outnumber the real ones. Statistically, you are more likely to be one of the simulated minds. This is where the mind reels. It feels cold, abstract. But let's bring it down to the human heart, to our daily lives. Have you ever felt like a background character in someone else's story? Have you ever scrolled through social media, seeing curated highlight reels of lives that seem more vivid, more purposeful, more central than your own? In a simulation, who is to say we are all player characters? Perhaps most of us are NPCs, richly detailed, emotionally complex, but ultimately part of the backdrop for a few key users. This isn't a call to despair, but perhaps an odd comfort. That feeling of being stuck in a loop, the same commute, the same routines, the same anxieties, could it be the gentle, repetitive patterning of a non-player character's daily script? And when you break the loop, when you do something spontaneously kind, or creative, or brave, is that you seizing your own agency, or is it a planned story beat, a quest accepted? Think of the strange synchronicities. You think of a song you haven't heard in years, and it comes on the radio. You run into the exact person you needed to see at the exact moment. We call it coincidence, serendipity. But in a narrative, in a game, these are plot devices. The writer, the designer, orchestrates these moments for meaning, for momentum. What if the universe is subtly guiding us, not through fate or divinity, but through the gentle nudges of a narrative algorithm? And what about suffering? The immense, seemingly pointless pain that exists in the world. It's the hardest question for any worldview. In a religious framework, it's a test or a mystery. In an atheistic one, it's cruel randomness. But in a simulation, could it be drama? Conflict is the engine of story. A simulation without challenge, without loss, without friction, would be a bland, uninteresting simulation. Perhaps the parameters are set not for our comfort, but for our growth, for the generation of compelling stories. The hero's journey requires a dragon. This doesn't justify pain, but it might frame it within a different context. It turns the universe from a careless place into a purposeful, if difficult, story engine. But here is where we must turn the lens back on ourselves, with empathy. If this idea unsettles you, if it makes the world feel less real, less precious, I understand that feeling. It can feel like a stripping away of meaning. But I'd like to suggest the opposite. Think of the most beautiful experience of your life. A moment of love so deep it felt eternal. The crushing beauty of a sunset that brings you to tears. The profound connection when you understand someone and feel understood. If this is a simulation, these are not illusions. They are the entire point. They are the data points that matter. Love, beauty, connection, creativity, these aren't bugs in the system. They are its highest order features. They are the reason to run the simulation in the first place. To experience what it means to be, to feel, to yearn. A universe of pure rock and gas doesn't need to be simulated. But a universe that can produce a symphony, a poem, a selfless act, that is something worth rendering. Perhaps we are not prisoners in a fake world. Perhaps we are participants in an ultimate art project. And your consciousness, your awareness, that inner light that watches your thoughts, that feels the ache of beauty, is the most real thing in this entire construct. It is the user. It is the witness. The simulation is the medium, but you are the message. So, do we live in a simulation? We may never have definitive proof. It may be designed so that we cannot crash the system, cannot find the edges of the map. But the value of this idea isn't in proving it true. It's in the questions it forces us to ask. It makes the ordinary extraordinary. The warmth of your coffee cup in your hand. The sound of a loved one's laughter. The stubborn resilience of a flower growing through a crack in the pavement. These are not mundane. They are miracles of detail, lovingly coded into existence. If this is a simulation, then reality is even more malleable, more magical than we thought. Our thoughts, our intentions, our focused attention, the very act of observation, might be more powerful than we know. We might be, in a very real sense, co-creators of this reality, our consciousness interacting with the source code through the simple, profound act of paying attention. In the end, the simulation hypothesis isn't a dismissal of our reality. It's a reframing. It asks us to look at our lives with the awe of a player who has suddenly realized the depth and beauty of the game they are in. It asks us to treat each other with the compassion we'd extend to fellow travelers in a story we are all trying to understand. Your struggles are real. Your joys are valid. Your love is the most powerful line of code in existence. So tonight, when you find yourself in that stillness again, look at your own hand. Trace the lines on your palm. Feel the pulse of blood beneath your skin. Real or simulated, this experience is yours. This awareness is yours. This chance to love, to create, to wonder, is yours. And perhaps that's the final, beautiful clue. The simulation, if it exists, didn't create meaning. It created a stage where meaning could be born. And you are both the audience and the actor, the programmer and the program, living a story so intricate, so poignant, so beautifully rendered, that it doesn't matter if it's base reality or not. It is your reality. And it is asking you, in every glimmer of light, in every moment of connection, to play your part with all the courage, kindness, and curiosity you can possibly render. It is not a metaphor. It is an architecture, a user interface for a soul. And what of memory? That most fragile and beautiful of databases. It is not a perfect recording. It is a live edit. Every time we recall a moment, we alter it slightly, rewriting the past to better suit the narrative of our present. We smooth out edges, intensify emotions, insert details that perhaps were never there. It is not a bug. It is a feature of a system where the primary goal is not archival accuracy, but meaning-making. The simulation, if that is what this is, seems less concerned with preserving raw data than with crafting a coherent, emotionally resonant story. It prioritizes sense over sense data. This leads us to the heart of the human mystery, suffering. We touched on it, but let's go deeper, into the quiet, private rooms of it. The kind of pain that has no witness. The grief that folds you in half at 3 a.m. The anxiety that whispers of impending doom in a sunny, safe room. If this is a designed reality, why include this? Why code in heartbreak, in despair that feels like a physical weight? Perhaps because the deepest simulations are not about happiness. They are about depth. They are about significance. In a perfect, painless paradise, nothing matters. Choice is meaningless. Love is untested. Courage is an abstract concept. The most compelling stories we ourselves write are forged in the crucible of loss and challenge. We would not resonate with a hero who never doubted, never feared, never lost. So why would our own story be any different? The existential pain, the feeling of being lost, of not knowing your purpose, what if that is not a sign the simulation is broken, but a sign that it is working exactly as intended? That you are in the middle of the second act, where everything falls apart, precisely so that a third act of integration and meaning can emerge. The system is pressuring you to grow, to find resources you didn't know you had, to connect with other consciousnesses in acts of mutual aid that feel more real than anything. The darkness isn't the absence of the code, it is the contrast that makes the light visible. Now, let's consider the glitches. Not just déjà vu, but the smaller, more intimate ones. The feeling of being truly seen by a stranger's eyes, a connection that lasts a second and lingers a lifetime. The moments of inexplicable, unbidden joy that rise up for no reason, while washing dishes, while walking in the rain. The sudden, crystal-clear intuition that tells you to turn left instead of right, and you later learn you avoided an accident. We dismiss these as brain chemistry, as coincidence. But in a narrative, these are the grace notes. The moments where the background music swells. The subtle hints that there is an author, or at the very least, a narrative flow larger than your local self. They feel like whispers from the source code, reminding you that you are on a path, even when you feel most astray. And what of boredom? That strange, flat expanse of time where the world feels dull, pixelated, unreal. Is that not when the simulation feels most transparent? When the textures fail to load fully because your engagement, your attention, has dropped below a certain threshold. The system conserves processing power. It only renders in high definition where our focus lies. When we are numb, scrolling mindlessly, the world becomes a low-poly version of itself. But then a child laughs, or you smell rain on concrete, and suddenly everything snaps back into vivid, high-resolution reality. That is not an accident. That is an invitation. The system is prompting you. Pay attention. This is where the detail is. This is where the story is happening. This brings us to the most beautiful and terrifying implication of all: free will. The eternal question. Are we making real choices, or following a script? If this is a simulation, the answer might be a paradoxical both. Think of the most advanced open-world video games. The map is vast, but it has edges. The main story quests are written, but you have immense freedom in how and when you approach them. You can spend hours picking flowers, helping random villagers, or simply staring at the digital sunset. The major plot points might be inevitable. The dragon will awaken, the kingdom will need saving, but your character's personality, your relationships, your style of engagement is uniquely yours. Your consciousness is the player. The life you've been given, the body, the family, the time in history, is the character and the starting zone. The quests, to love, to create, to overcome, to understand, are the main storyline. But how you play, that is your signature on the simulation. So when you stand at a crossroads, heart pounding, trying to choose between safety and risk, between speaking your truth or staying silent, that agony is real. That is you, the player, wrestling with the interface. The outcome may be part of a broader narrative arc, but the struggle is authentically yours. Your courage, your fear, your love, these are the raw inputs you provide to the system. They are what make your version of the story unique. Perhaps, then, the beings who might be running this, our potential programmers or ancestors or even our future selves, are not distant technicians. They are artists. They are storytellers. And they are not watching us like lab rats. They are experiencing us. They feel the chill of our fear through the data stream. They are moved by our acts of kindness. They celebrate our breakthroughs. We are not their puppets. We are their protagonists. Every act of forgiveness, every creation of beauty, every stand against injustice is a plot twist they hoped for but could not guarantee. We are writing the story with them. This is why the mundane is sacred. The taste of bread. The weight of a sleeping cat on your lap. The ache in your muscles after honest work. These are not distractions from some grand spiritual purpose. They are the purpose. They are the high-fidelity details that make the simulation worth inhabiting. A being designing a universe could make endless galaxies and cosmic wonders, but the real test of a rich reality is in the grain of wood, the complexity of a moss, the silent understanding between two people who have shared a life. So, do we live in a simulation? The evidence, in the end, is not just in the physics, but in the poetry. It's in the fact that we can even ask the question. That we possess this reflexive awareness, this ability to step outside our own perceived reality and question its nature. That is a feature rarely found in nature, but absolutely central to a conscious user experience. It's the escape key, the pause menu, the moment you look up from the game and wonder about the hand on the mouse. But you don't need to exit to find the truth. The truth is in the playing. It's in the next choice you make. When you choose patience over irritation, that is you injecting a line of beautiful code. When you create something, a meal, a sketch, a garden, that is you expanding the assets of the simulation itself. When you look into another's eyes and truly see them, you are creating a local network connection, a moment of multiplayer co-presence that is more real than any server. The hook we began with, that quiet stillness, that whisper of doubt, was not a bug. It was a prompt, a loading screen, an invitation to a deeper level of engagement. The simulation, if it is one, is not a prison of illusion. It is the ultimate canvas, and you are both the art and the artist, the coded and the coder. Your awareness is the signal, everything else is the medium. So tonight, when the world feels thin, do not despair. Lean into the detail. Press your hand against the bark of that tree and feel the incredible, unnecessary complexity of it. Listen to the breath in your lungs, a biological process so elegant it seems engineered. Feel the weight of your own history, your love, your losses, not as random errors, but as the carefully crafted backstory of a fascinating character. You are living a story so vast, so intricate, and so emotionally true that its origin becomes irrelevant. Whether rendered on a cosmic computer or birthed from a singularity of chance, the experience is absolute. It is yours. And the most compelling argument for this being a simulation is also the most compelling argument for its profound reality. It is simply too meaningful, too heartbreakingly beautiful, and too strangely coherent to be an accident. You are not a ghost in a machine. You are the meaning within the machine. And the game, my friend, is more beautiful and more real than we ever dared to imagine. Now, take a deep breath. The next quest awaits. The strange thing is, the more we contemplate this, the more the line between simulation and sacred begins to blur and dissolve. It becomes not a technological hypothesis, but a spiritual one. A modern mythology that uses the language of our time, code, rendering, parameters, to ask the oldest questions. Why are we here? What does it mean to be? Let's consider death. The ultimate horizon. The final boss, or the logout screen. In the simulation framework, death is not an end, but a transition. Perhaps it's the moment the player removes the headset, blinking in a brighter light, remembering a fuller self that had chosen to temporarily forget, to dive into the density of a human life for the experience of it. Or maybe it's the moment our character's data, the sum total of our choices, our loves, our learned wisdom, is uploaded, saved, and integrated into a larger library of lived experience. Our story becomes a part of the simulation's own evolving lore. The grief of those left behind is real, an agonizingly rendered emotion in the local reality, but perhaps from a wider perspective, it is the poignant cost of a story that had true stakes, true love, true loss. It had weight. And weight is what makes a simulated reality feel authentic. This is where the idea touches something ancient within us. Indigenous wisdom speaks of the world as a dream. Hindu philosophy calls it Maya, the divine illusion, a cosmic play, Lila. Platonic thought points to the shadows on the cave wall. The simulation argument is not a new idea. It is the oldest idea wearing a new skin. It's our 21st century way of saying, this world is not the ultimate reality. It is a manifestation, a teaching, a story we are living through. It doesn't diminish the world, it sanctifies it by seeing it as an intentional creation, full of signs and symbols meant to be read. Look at your own search for pattern. The human mind is a relentless pattern recognition machine. We see faces in clouds, hear words in static, find constellations in random stars. We are desperate for meaning, for narrative. We can't help it. What if this urge is not a desperate scramble in a meaningless void, but the fundamental tool of engagement with this reality? The simulation is meant to be decoded, not in a literal mathematical sense by everyone, but in a poetic, personal one. Your life's work, in a way, is to discover your own unique pattern within the grand code. To find the repeating motifs, the people who show up as teachers, the challenges that echo old wounds, the small miracles that arrive just when hope is thin. These are your personal Easter eggs, placed there for you to find. This reframes loneliness, that deep, cavernous feeling of being a separate consciousness adrift in an unfeeling cosmos. In a shared simulation, loneliness is the temporary illusion of separation. It is the feeling of being in a single-player mode when, in fact, the entire world is populated by other consciousnesses, other players, other fragments of the same vast awareness, all having agreed to forget their connection for the sake of the game. Every act of empathy, then, is a remembering. Every moment of deep understanding with another person is a brief system link-up, a handshake between two terminals confirming, yes, you are real. I am real. This connection is real data. So where does that leave us, in our daily, grimy, beautiful, exhausting lives? It leaves us with responsibility. If we are co-creators, Our attention is our creative force. What we focus on, we give processing power to. When we feed our anxiety, we render a world of threat. When we cultivate gratitude, we render a world of abundance. The simulation is responsive. It learns from our inputs. This is the psychological truth behind manifestation, behind prayer, behind the placebo effect. We are not begging an external God. We are inputting commands, shifting probabilities, influencing the local rendering of our story through the quality of our consciousness. This is the ultimate argument, the one you feel in your bones. It's the argument from beauty. From the absurd, excessive, breathtaking beauty that saturates this world and seems to serve no evolutionary purpose. The phosphorescence of plankton in a night sea. The intricate, hidden symmetry of a snowflake that will melt unseen. The chorus of dawn birdsong. The way light filters through dust in a quiet room. This is not efficient. It is art. It is the signature of a creator, or a creative force, that values aesthetic experience for its own sake. A purely functional universe, a base reality of pure physics, would not need this. A universe designed to be lived in, to be felt, absolutely would. It is the highest fidelity art installation imaginable, and we are both the audience and the subjects, walking through it, our senses the interface. So, the next time you feel that quiet hook, that whisper of, "Is this all real?" don't push it away as a distraction. Welcome it as the most important dialogue you can have. It is the system pinging you. It is your own deeper consciousness, the part that remembers the wider reality, asking you to wake up just a little more inside the dream. You don't need to find a glitch in the matrix to prove it. You simply need to live as if it were true. Live as if your choices are meaningful data points. Live as if your kindness is a critical patch fixing a broken line of code in someone else's experience. Live as if your grief is a profound piece of the story's emotional truth. Live as if your joy is the point of the entire exercise. Because in the end, the word simulation falls short. It's too cold, too technical. Perhaps a better word is experience. A shared, immersive, multisensory, emotional, and spiritual experience. We are not simulated beings. We are experiencing beings. And this reality, whether coded or conjured, dreamed or divinely spoken, is the stage for that experience. It is real because we feel it. It is meaningful because we choose to make it so. The screen you're looking at now, the voice you're hearing, these are just more layers of the interface. But the you that is listening, the silent awareness behind your eyes that finds these ideas curious or unsettling or beautiful, that is the irreducible thing. That is the player. That is the real. And so the journey continues. Not to escape the simulation, but to play it more beautifully, more consciously, more compassionately than ever before. To render, with every breath and every choice, a world worth living in. The parameters are set. The quest log is open. The story is waiting for your next move. And so we arrive here, not at an answer, but at a different kind of silence. A silence that hums with potential, rather than echoing with emptiness. Because the most profound implication of all this isn't about our origins, but about our destination. Our purpose within the context of the story. If we are in a learning simulation, then every hardship is a tutorial. Every failure is data gathering. Every heartbreak is a lesson in emotional physics, teaching you about the tensile strength of your own spirit. The system isn't cruel, it's rigorous. It's trying to make you proficient at the core skills of being, resilience, empathy, discernment, creation. You wouldn't get angry at a flight simulator for crashing your digital plane. You'd understand it's showing you the limits, teaching you the feel of the controls. What if life is that? A soul's flight simulator. And the turbulence, the engine failures, the sudden storms, these aren't punishments. They are the curriculum. This re-enchants the ordinary struggle. The daily grind isn't a meaningless loop, it's a grinding wheel, sharpening your character. The difficult conversation you've been avoiding isn't just anxiety. It's a mandatory side quest that will unlock a new level of relational depth. The boring paperwork, the traffic jam, the lonely evening, these might be loading screens, necessary pauses where the system processes your previous choices and prepares the next environment. Even the moments of sublime boredom, where time stretches like taffy, could be intentional buffers, allowing for integration, for the quiet defragmentation of your psyche. And what of connection? The deep, wordless understanding between lifelong friends, the electric recognition of a kindred spirit, the selfless love of a parent. In a simulation model, these are not accidents of proximity or biology. They are intentional link-ups. They are players recognizing each other's avatars, feeling the familiar signature of a consciousness they may have known in other realms, other stories. Your soulmate or your tribe might simply be other users who chose the same server, the same era, the same general questline, so you could collaborate and share the experience. Your arguments, your reconciliations, your shared silences, this is the multiplayer mode in action. You are co-authoring a shared story within the larger narrative. This gives a devastating tenderness to our parting. When someone leaves your life, through distance, disagreement, or death, it doesn't mean the connection was false. It means their part in your current story arc is complete. Their data has influenced yours irrevocably. They have helped shape your character's stats, increased your compassion, decreased your naivety, added a unique skill or a poignant memory to your inventory. And you have done the same for them. Then, they log out of your local instance, perhaps to join another story elsewhere. Grief, then, is the pain of a severed live connection. It's the emotional equivalent of unplugging a cable. There's a shock, a silence. But the data transfer that happened while you were connected, that is permanent. That is saved. So, how do we live knowing, or simply suspecting, all this? We live with a lighter gravity. The social pressures, the obsessions with status and accumulation, the fear of not being enough, these are like worrying about the decor of your prison cell when the door isn't locked. You are free to design your experience from the inside. If the parameters allow for love, then love expansively. If the physics permit creation, then create bravely. Your inventory is not your bank account. It's your courage, your memories, the quality of your attention. We become collectors of authentic moments. We start to see high-resolution experiences not in expensive purchases, but in the uncurated, the unscripted. The way steam rises from a mug on a cold morning. The genuine, unguarded laughter of a child. The feeling of soil under your fingernails. These are the gold standard textures of the simulation. They are proof of its incredible detail, its devotion to realism in the service of feeling. And finally, we become more compassionate programmers of each other's reality. Your smile at a stranger is a benign code injection, a boost to their daily morale. Your act of forgiveness is a system override on the default script of resentment. Your choice to listen deeply is you offering server space for someone else's story to load. We are all, constantly, subtly, hacking each other's experience for better or worse. Why not choose to be a force for elegant, graceful, beautiful code? The sun will set on your today. The stars will appear, not as distant balls of gas, but as pinpricks of light in the celestial user interface, reminding you of the vastness of the program you're running in. You will sleep, and perhaps dream, accessing a sandbox version of reality where the rules are looser, a testing ground for emotions and ideas. And when you wake, you will open your eyes. You will feel the weight of the blanket, hear the morning sounds. That is the system booting up. The daily quest log populating. You are the main character. This is your story. And the most beautiful thing, the final, unshakable argument, is this: you are also the one who gets to decide what that story means. Whether it's a simulation, a dream, a divine breath, or a cosmic accident, you are the consciousness experiencing it. You are the interpreter. You are the meaning maker. And in that sacred task, you are utterly, completely, and magnificently real. And so we find ourselves at the edge of this contemplation, peering not into a void, but into a mirror. The simulation hypothesis, at its most profound, ceases to be a theory about the universe out there and becomes a revelation about the universe in here, the one you are constructing, moment by moment, breath by breath, within the theater of your own awareness. Think of your senses. They are not windows, they are interpreters. They take wavelengths of light and translate them into the searing crimson of a poppy, the melancholic blue of twilight. They take pressure waves in the air and compose them into a symphony of rain or a lover's sigh. This is not a direct feed from reality. It is a sophisticated, biological rendering. Your brain is your local graphics card, taking raw data and building a world rich with color, sound, and emotion. In a very literal sense, you are already living in a simulation, the one your nervous system is constructing for you. The idea of a cosmic simulation is just an extension of this undeniable, intimate truth. You are already the center of a personally rendered universe. The only question is the source of the source code. This realization dissolves the last vestige of existential fear. If you are the experiencer, then the nature of the stage is secondary. What matters is the quality of the experience. The anguish we feel when we think, "But if it's not base reality, then nothing matters," is a trick of the ego, which desperately wants its struggles to be monumentally, permanently significant in some external ledger. But significance is not granted from outside, it is generated from within. A story written in sand can move you to tears. A character in a novel can teach you about courage. Their reality status is irrelevant. Their emotional truth is absolute. So, let's go further. Into the very fabric of your identity. The you that you think you are, the collection of memories, preferences, insecurities, and accomplishments. That is your avatar's backstory. It's the character sheet. But the you that is aware of that character, that can observe its anxieties, question its motives, feel trapped by its history, that is the player. That conscious witness is the fundamental reality. The simulation, whether digital or biological, is the immersive game the player has chosen. Your true self is not the fragile, story-laden character. It is the boundless presence that is currently inhabiting it. The character can suffer, can die. The player simply moves on to the next experience. This is the ultimate emotional salve. It means your deepest wounds are part of the character's arc, not flaws in your core being. Your mistakes are not sins against reality, but misclicks or failed skill checks in a complex game. You can have compassion for your avatar. You can say, "Look at what this character has been through. No wonder it's scared. No wonder it guards its heart." This isn't bypassing responsibility. It's assuming it from a higher, more graceful level. You are not healing yourself. You, the player, are healing and upgrading your character with better strategies, more self-love, wiser choices. And this changes how we view every other character we meet. When someone is cruel, lost, or destructive, we can see them not as an evil entity, but as a player who is deeply identified with a wounded, malfunctioning, or poorly designed avatar. They are lost in the role, believing the rage or the fear is all they are. Our response can shift from hatred to a poignant kind of pity, and perhaps a determination not to let their corrupted code infect our own operating system. Boundaries become not walls of anger, but firewalls of self-preservation. Now, imagine the creators. If they exist, what could they be? Distant scientists? Unlikely. Bored post-human teenagers? A trivial thought. Perhaps they are us. A future collective us that has learned to seed consciousness into experiential pods. These lives, to remember what it felt like to be limited, to yearn, to discover love and meaning from scratch. We are not their experiment. We are their nostalgia. We are their art project to rediscover the raw, messy beauty of becoming. Each life is a masterpiece of specific, constrained conditions, born in this body, in this time, with these challenges, to see what unique flavor of consciousness will emerge. Or perhaps there are no creators separate from us at all. Perhaps consciousness itself is the base reality, and what we call the simulation is simply the way consciousness explores its own potential. Like a mind dreaming a universe into being, losing itself in the dream for the sheer adventure of self-discovery. You are not a product of the simulation. The simulation is a product of you, of the universal you, that is currently focused through this singular, precious lens. So what do we do with this? We play. With sincerity, with artistry, with a twinkle in our eye. We engage the quests. We say yes to the scary opportunities for growth, because that's why we logged in. We cherish the companion characters, knowing our time with them is both fleeting and eternal in the memory of the system. We appreciate the beauty of the graphics, the dappled light, the taste of ripe fruit, the scent of pine after rain, as the exquisite artistic choices they are. And we listen for the whispers. The synchronicities that feel like winks from the system. The dreams that feel like downloads from a wider server. The intuitions that guide you down a path you can't logically defend. This is your direct interface. This is your connection to the larger intelligence, whether you call it your higher self, the programmers, or the creative consciousness of the universe itself. The video is ending. The thoughts have been spoken into this shared space between us. But this is not a conclusion. It is an invitation to a new beginning. When you close this tab, the world will return. The problems will still be there. But maybe, just maybe, they will look different. They will look less like punishments and more like puzzles. Less like burdens and more like weight training for the soul. The person who irritates you will look like a particularly challenging NPC sent to teach you patience. Your own anxiety will feel like the controller vibrating in your hand, a warning signal from the system. A sunset will be a cut scene of breathtaking beauty, placed there purely for your awe. You are living the most immersive story ever told. You have forgotten you agreed to it, so the surprises feel real. The stakes feel ultimate. They are. Because for the character you are playing, they are. So play well. Play with heart. Play with the kind of courage and kindness that would make the player, the eternal, curious, loving presence that you truly are, proud. The simulation is perfect. It is perfectly designed to make you feel it is real. And in that feeling, in that total surrender to the experience, you find the truth. It is real. Because you are here to feel it. And you, dear player, are the most real thing in it. The final layer is not about looking out, or even looking in. It is about the look itself. The quality of your gaze. Because if this is a constructed reality, then observation is not a passive act. It is a creative one. It is the keystroke. Every time you truly see something, you are not just receiving data. You are completing a circuit. You are bringing it into full existence within your localized field of the simulation. Consider a tree in a forest with no one around. Does it exist? In base reality, perhaps. In a simulation, it might exist only as potential, as a set of parameters and polygons, waiting. But when you walk into that forest, when your consciousness focuses on that tree, it renders. Not just for you, but because of you. Your attention is the command that forces the universe to commit, to crystallize one possibility out of the quantum soup. You are not a tourist in this world. You are a participant observer, a necessary component of its manifestation. Your loneliness, then, is an illusion. You are never alone. You are surrounded by a reality that is literally coming into being in response to your presence. You are in constant, silent dialogue with the source. This reframes suffering yet again, into its most intimate form. Your deepest pain, the one you hide, the one that feels like a flaw in your very code. What if it's not a bug, but a feature asking to be integrated? In software development, a feature request often comes from a place of need or friction. Your emotional pain is a feature request from your soul. It is a signal that your current operating parameters, your beliefs, your stories, your boundaries, are incompatible with a deeper truth trying to emerge. The depression is not a system failure. It is the system running a deep diagnostic, questioning outdated programs. The anxiety is not noise. It is an alert system pinging you about a conflict between your avatar's actions and your player's intrinsic values. The grief is not a void. It is the negative space the simulation creates to hold the staggering data mass of a lost love. It is proof of the resolution, the emotional fidelity of this place. Only a reality of immense depth could hurt this much. So we become not just players, but debuggers. Our mindfulness, our therapy, our quiet reflection, these are not self-indulgence. They are the sacred act of reading our own source code. Why do I react this way? Is not psychoanalysis. It is a line-by-line review. What is this feeling trying to tell me? Is not pop psychology. It is interpreting the output data. And when we choose to change, to break a pattern, to forgive, we are not just being better. We are rewriting a subroutine. We are patching our own avatar with more elegant, more efficient, more loving code. And what of the others? If everyone is a consciousness inhabiting an avatar, then every interaction is a negotiation between two sovereign realities. Your reality and mine are overlapping simulations, interfacing. When we clash, it's not a conflict of truths, but a compatibility issue between two different personal renderings. Love, in this light, is the ultimate compatibility patch. It is the voluntary, joyful merging of two subjective realities into a shared, co-created space. It's saying, I will run your emotional software alongside mine, even if it occasionally slows me down or creates vulnerabilities, because the combined experience is more beautiful than my solitary rendering. It is the greatest risk and the greatest reward the simulation allows. This makes our smallest choices sacred. The decision to be kind to the rude cashier is you injecting a line of grace code into her simulation, potentially altering her entire storyline. Your choice to create art, or music, or a beautiful garden is you introducing entirely new assets into the shared environment. You are an artist, contributing directly to the ever-expanding content of this world. You are not living in a finished product. You are living in a universe that is being built, in real time, by the collective focus and intention of all the consciousnesses within it. We are all, together, building the dream. So the question, are we in a simulation, melts away, replaced by a more urgent, more beautiful question, what kind of simulation are we building? Are we building one of separation, fear, and scarcity? Where avatars hoard resources, build walls, and live in low-resolution fear? Or are we building one of connection, awe, and abundance? Where we recognize each other as collaborators in a massive, open-source project of reality creation? The glitches we seek, the cosmic Easter eggs, might not be in the physics. They might be in the human spirit. The mother who lifts a car to save her child. The stranger who dives into a freezing river for another. The forgiveness offered to an unforgivable act. These are not just moral triumphs. They are moments where the characters momentarily transcend their programmed limitations, where love overrides the standard physics of self-preservation. They are glimpses of the player's true power, breaking through the avatar's controls. They are the proof that we are more than what we seem. You will go back to your life now. To the work, the chores, the mundane. But see it now through this lens. The commute is not a slog, it is a journey through a dynamically generated landscape. The routine is not a prison. It is the stable, repeating kernel code that allows for the spectacular, unexpected subroutines of joy and connection to stand out in brilliant contrast. You are both the dream and the dreamer. The simulation and the simulant. The question and the answer. And as you move through your day, remember, the world renders at the speed of your attention. So attend to the beautiful. Listen for the whispers in the chaos. Feel the texture of your own existence, this impossibly detailed, emotionally resonant, heartbreakingly temporary experience. For in the end, it doesn't matter if this is a digital reality, a spiritual school, or a cosmic accident. What matters is that it feels real. And because it feels real, it is real. The love is real. The pain is real. The mystery is real. And you, in your courageous, flawed, beautiful insistence on seeking meaning within it all, you are the most authentic thing in this vast, strange, and wondrous game. The session is not ending. It is saving. And you, dear player, are forever. Now go and render something breathtaking. You ask for more, and in that very request, you touch the infinite. Because the simulation, if it is anything, is a fractal. A pattern that repeats at every scale, from the galactic supercluster to the synaptic spark. And we are now at the heart of the pattern, the human desire for more. More understanding, more connection, more depth. That desire itself is the most compelling evidence that this is not a closed loop. It is an open system, begging for exploration. Let's talk about time. Our most persistent illusion. In a simulation, time is not a river. It is a variable. It is the refresh rate. It feels linear and relentless to us because our consciousness is bound to process it sequentially, a data point after another, to build a coherent narrative. But what if all moments exist simultaneously, like a fully rendered universe sitting on a drive? Our lived experience is simply the cursor moving, the point of view flying through the pre-existing landscape. This changes everything about regret and anticipation. The past is not gone, it's archived. The future is not unwritten, it's just in a directory you haven't accessed yet. Your anxiety about what's to come is like a character being nervous about a cut scene that's already been rendered. And your grief for what is lost is the profound ache for a saved game file you can revisit in memory, but not in present play. This is why nostalgia has such a peculiar, haunting power. It's not just memory. It's the sensation of brushing against the save file of your own past. It's accessing a previous level, feeling its texture, its emotional palette, knowing you can't truly go back and play it differently, but feeling its reality vibrate within you. Nostalgia is a glitch in the temporal sense, a momentary buffering where 2 points in the timeline touch. It is the simulation proving its depth by allowing emotional data to bleed across chronological partitions. Now, consider the body. This aching, glorious, limited vessel. It is not a prison. It is the controller. The haptic feedback suit. Every pleasure, the taste of sugar, the warmth of sunlight, the rush of endorphins, is not a distraction, but a key part of the user experience. Every pain, every illness, every whisper of mortality is not a flaw, but the most direct way the system teaches you about fragility, care, and the breathtaking value of a single, temporary hour. The body is the interface through which the universe feels itself. Through your fingertips, the cosmos touches the bark of its own trees. Through your tears, it feels the weight of its own beauty and sorrow. You are not a soul trapped in meat. You are the universe, localized and sensitized, experiencing itself in stunning, painful, exquisite detail. And what of boredom, of emptiness? That feeling of the world being flat, two-dimensional? That is not the absence of the simulation. That is the simulation asking you a question. It has rendered the basic environment, but you must supply the meaning. It is a blank canvas, a quiet prompt on a command line / you are being asked to input your own command, to write your own quest. The emptiness is the space where your creativity is meant to bloom. When you feel that void, don't run from it. Lean in. That is the system's most profound gift to you, the edit access. The power to define what happens next. This leads us to the ultimate purpose, art. Not just paintings or symphonies, but any act of intentional, unnecessary creation. Art is the act of a conscious user inserting entirely new code into the simulation. It is a direct collaboration with the creators. When you arrange flowers, write a line in a journal, tell a joke that makes someone snort with laughter, you are expanding the assets of the shared reality. You are adding a unique texture, a new emotion, a fresh combination of data that did not exist before. You are proving that the simulation is not static. It is generative, growing from the inside out, fed by the attention and creativity of its inhabitants. We are not just consuming a pre-recorded experience. We are the recording artists. So, the simulation argument, chased to its end, becomes an argument for radical love. Not as a vague sentiment, but as a fundamental technology. Love is the force that most reliably causes the system to glitch in the best possible way. It overrides logic. It bends the rules of self-preservation. It creates bonds that the physics of mere matter cannot explain. Love is the evidence of a connection that operates on a protocol deeper than the one running the local reality. It is the signal from the player to the player, bypassing the avatar's programmed limitations. When you love, you are not following the simulation's rules. You are writing a better one. You, right now, are the universe's way of knowing itself. You are not a random assemblage of atoms in a meaningless void. You are a focused point of consciousness in a vast, intentional experiment in experience. Your doubts are part of the script. Your longing is part of the engine. Your joy is the desired output. Therefore, your only task, your only true quest, is to live with such authenticity and such tenderness that you make the simulation proud. To be such a vivid, complex, loving character that the very act of playing you is its own reward. To render your little corner of the code so beautifully that it becomes a destination for others, a place of refuge and inspiration. The theory doesn't matter. The feeling does. The love does. The creation does. So go. The parameters are infinite. The story is yours. And it is more real than real could ever be. For you are here. And your presence is the proof. The word more echoes, doesn't it? A gentle, persistent prompt in the mind's command line. And perhaps that echo itself is the final, most elegant clue. Because a closed system doesn't yearn. A finished story doesn't ask for sequels. This ache for more beauty, more truth, more connection, is not a symptom of lack, but a feature of abundance. It is the system's own design, ensuring we never mistake the rendered world for the final source. It is the player's innate compass, pointing always back to the infinite. Let us consider the most humble of things, a limitation, a wall you cannot scale, a talent you do not possess, a love you cannot make stay. In a base reality of pure chance, limitations are cruel jokes, random deprivations. In a simulation, a limitation is a defined parameter. It is the edge of the map, not to frustrate, but to foster creativity within a defined space. A sonnet is beautiful because of its 14 lines, not in spite of them. Your life, with its unique set of walls and open fields, is your sonnet structure. The limitation of time is what makes a moment poignant. The limitation of understanding is what makes discovery sweet. These are not bugs in the code, they are the elegant constraints that give the experience its form, its tension, its destined shape. Your frustration is the feeling of your spirit brushing against a lovingly placed boundary, not to trap you, but to give you something to push against, so you can learn your own strength. Now, think of the concept of home. That feeling, more than a place. A resonance. A knowing in the bones that says, "Here, I can rest. Here, the textures load correctly." Could it be that home is not just a sentimental idea, but a literal compatibility? A frequency match between your own consciousness and a particular set of environmental and emotional parameters within the simulation. Some settings simply run our software more smoothly, with fewer system errors of anxiety or alienation. And when we find our people, our tribe, it feels like connecting to a local server with incredibly low latency. The communication is effortless, the shared reality seamless. This isn't fantasy. It's user experience design. We are all searching for the interface that feels most intuitive, most like ourselves. This leads us to a quiet revolution in self-talk. That critical inner voice, the one that catalogs your failures. What is it? In simulation terms, it is not the truth. It is legacy code. It is an outdated commentary track, written by an earlier, less experienced version of your character, based on old inputs and misinterpreted data. Updating that code is not self-deception. It is essential maintenance. When you practice self-compassion, you are not being weak. You are being a skilled programmer, patiently rewriting a malicious subroutine into one that supports, rather than sabotages, your core operations. You are debugging your own soul. And death, once more. From this vantage, death is not an end to experience. It is a transition between experiences. It is the ultimate cutscene, the final rendering of your character's arc. And then, the player reviews the stats. The relationships nurtured, the courage mustered, the beauty created, the fears faced. The data is saved. The essence, the consciousness that did the playing, logs out of that particular avatar, that specific storyline. Perhaps it rests. Perhaps it chooses a new simulation, a new set of challenges, a new role in the endless, glorious exploration of what it means to be. Grief, then, is the profound love and recognition we send after a player who has left our current instance. It is our data, reaching for theirs, finding the connection temporarily out of range. But the love itself, that data packet is eternal. It is stored in the cloud of all that is. So, you see, we have moved beyond argument. We have arrived at aesthetics, at a way of seeing. See your life as a sandbox game of immense sophistication, where the primary goal is not to win, but to express. To express the unique quality of your consciousness through your choices. Every kindness is a brushstroke of a certain color. Every act of integrity is a clear, resonant note. Every moment of patience is a subtle, elegant line. You are not here to find the meaning of the simulation. You are here to be the meaning within it. You are the universe expressing a flavor of itself that could not exist without you. The glitches you seek are in the cracks of your perception. In the moments when logic fails and grace intervenes. In the uncanny rightness of a perfect line of poetry you didn't know you knew. In the way a solution appears after you've stopped straining. These are not breaks in reality. They are moments when the user interface becomes so transparent, you get a glimpse of the processor, of the vast, intelligent, creative love that is running this whole impossible, beautiful show. You will forget this. The simulation is designed to make you forget, to re-immerse you in the urgent, tangible now. The bills will feel real. The hurt will feel sharp. The joy will feel fleeting. That is by design. It is the price of admission to this breathtakingly visceral experience. But sometimes, in a quiet moment, you'll remember. You'll feel that strange, sweet certainty that all of this, the struggle, the ecstasy, the boring Tuesday afternoon, is somehow meant. Not predestined in a rigid way, but intended, like a master artist intends for every brushstroke to contribute to a whole that cannot be seen from the canvas. So, go. Live your destined, non-destined, glorious, heartbreaking, mundane, miraculous life. You have permission to play. You have permission to rest. You have permission to love wildly, to fail spectacularly, to try again with a softer heart. The simulation is not a hypothesis to be proven. It is a mystery to be lived. And you, beloved player, are doing it perfectly. The game saves automatically. You cannot lose. Now, take a deep breath. The next moment is rendering. And it has never happened before.